This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Granger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgranger.com or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Welcome back to the Jello Jiggling Podcast. I'm the host, Ryan Ward, and now this is about to get crazy. The regular season is officially over. The Lakers won 47 games, finishing with a record of 47-35. Things got a little bit rocky there at the end of that 2-game road trip to finish out the regular season. They kind of, excuse the dog in the background. He always knows when I'm on. Thanks, Max. Anyway, the game against Memphis was a nightmare, an absolute nightmare. I thought that kind of showed where their head was at. Memphis couldn't have done more to give the game to the Lakers before the game started in terms of resting any notable player possible. I mean, the most well-known player on the floor at the time was Scottie Pippen Jr., who's barely an NBA player himself. I mean, I think he's a good player, but I don't know about an NBA player. I think he's a little undersized. Anyway, the body language was awful. You know, LeBron shrugging his shoulders every 5 minutes. The team just kind of just seemed checked out, kind of like maybe they just didn't care what happened that game. But then, wow, what a change when they took on the Pelicans and in the regular season finale. That was incredible. Off to a fast start. LeBron looked like a completely different player. Like, I think he had 13 assists in either the first half or the first quarter. I know quarter sounds crazy. I'm betting it's the first half. I think he ended with 17 assists, which is insane, obviously. I know I wrote that down somewhere. 28 points, 17 assists, 11 rebounds, 5 steals. That's just ridiculous. I mean, he was totally engaged. He was determined to win that game. AD chipped in with 30 and 11, but in the end gave us a scare again, going down with what they called hip spasms, which, I mean, anybody that's actually played a sport knows you can't do much when your back is just completely stiff and acting up, not to mention your hip as well, which is just weird. And it just looks super painful for him walking off the court. He could barely walk. And they have to get back to work tomorrow on Tuesday, which gives him a day of rest on the road, in an uncomfortable hotel, I'm sure, just to get back at it against the same team the next night. But I mean, he's AD's been as tough as they come this season. He's really battled through everything, and you can't really count him out. And I don't think he's going to come out and just suck it up. I think I think he'll do okay. But it is obviously a concern, especially right when the playoffs start. Well, play-in. I mean, the play-in tournament's the playoffs. Again, I hate this whole, it's not technically the playoffs yet. It's the playoffs. It's win or go home. Even though if the Lakers do lose this game, they're still alive and they can still make it to the first round. But that's obviously a concern. He played a career high 76 games this season, which is crazy for a guy who is so injury prone. He's only played 75 games twice in his career before this season, with 76 being the only time he's played 76 games. That's the best as a Laker since he's become a Laker by 14 games. 62 games was his best before this year. That's kind of crazy in itself. The guy averaged 24.7 points, 12.6 rebounds, which is a career high, 2.3 blocks, 3.5 assists, which is close to a career high. 55.6% field goal percentage, which is also close to a career high. 81.6 from the free throw line, which was impressive. We won't talk about the 3-point line. I think it was like 27%, which is pretty awful. But the guy's not a 3-point shooter, and he's been shooting less threes, so he gets it. He knows not to be jacking from that distance. Anyway, the current scenario as is, which has been complicated as hell for the last few weeks, but now it's getting a bit more clear, a bit easier to explain. They'll play the Pelicans on Tuesday. Whoever wins that game instantly goes into the first round to play the defending NBA champion Denver Nuggets. So in a way, it's a death wish. Like you win that game, you're going up against arguably the best team in the league, and you could get smacked. You could get totally spanked in 4 games or 5 games, and you're out. And I think everybody kind of knows that the Lakers are not in a good situation right now. Win or lose, they're in terms of the scenario, which I'll obviously explain. It's not good who they're facing or who they could potentially face. Ironically enough, their best case scenario, I hate to put it this way, because I as a competitor myself, well, like in the past, losing is never beneficial in any way possible, right? Like, even if it makes sense down the road, which in this scenario kind of does. Denver's the last team the Lakers want to see. I mean, they got spanked last year in 4 games in the West Finals by this team, and they haven't fared well against them during the regular season. I mean, I think they won that last game they played against them, but Denver's just the way they play. It's not good for the Lakers. The Lakers can't keep up with these guys, and they can't stop Jokic, which makes this injury for AD that much worse, right? He already can't stop the guy, and now he's limited. We don't know how limited, but from the looks of his face and his body language, walking off the court, he's probably going to be fairly limited, and that back is going to tweak up or to get tweaked again if he's going up against a big like Jokic, in a 7-game series. That's just got disaster written all over it. But anyway, say they lose tomorrow night to the Pelicans. Then they drop down to face the loser of Golden State and Sacramento. Well, we all know Sacramento's kicked crap out of Lakers all season long, with, again, Sabonis having an edge over AD for whatever reason, which is the weirdest thing ever. But it's, the numbers are there. So obviously they don't want to play Sac if Sac loses to Golden State. And then Golden State's always dangerous in a 1-game playoff. They lose that game to Golden State or Sacramento, and their season's over. And they flamed out probably in the worst way possible. But if they win, they advance to the first round to play the top-seeded Oklahoma City Thunder, which, ironically enough, is probably their best-case scenario at this point. Which really sucks. Because, I mean, you don't want to have the thought of losing in any capacity being the right way to go right when you start a postseason like this. So it's so ass backwards and crappy, and it's not a good scenario. And I hate it. I'm sure all Laker fans are going to hate it, because if we see them beating the Pelicans, well, like they did yesterday, beat the crap out of them, with Zion just didn't show up and Ingram just wasn't really there either. It's going to be like bittersweet, right? Because like, cool, they advanced to the first round of the playoffs. They're the 7th seed, and they get to play Denver. But Denver's such a tough team to beat, especially in the postseason. So it's just like I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it. I don't have much confidence here, but then again, last year I did not see them going to the West Finals. Nobody did. So anything can happen. LeBron gets hot. AD can keep, doing what he does while staying healthy. And then hopefully they get something from D'Lo and Reeves, because Reeves was pretty good yesterday. Rui was good in the first half and then kind of disappeared in the second half. Because LeBron was just feeding him like crazy underneath the basket. I mean, I've been so impressed with Rui, but last game wasn't great. But they didn't really need him to do anything. The game was already over. It was long since over. So I don't know how to feel about this moving forward. I don't want to put any negativity on it. I just put it this way. This is where it gets fun. This is where everything is on the line. Every game, every minute, it's going to be intense and get your heart pumping and with the thought of moving forward. I mean, put it this: say they win tomorrow, they advance, they play Denver, and they beat them somehow in 6 games, 7 games, or whatever. If they beat Denver in that first round, anything goes. I mean, anything goes, because I think they'll have that confidence of beating arguably the best team in the league, going up against inexperienced teams like Minnesota. I mean, I don't know what the bracket looks like exactly, like who they face. I think it might be the winner of Minnesota Phoenix, which will likely be Minnesota, the way Phoenix is playing. But I mean, if they get to take on a young Minnesota team, cool. I think that the scary teams would be Dallas, who's been just red hot with Luca and Kyrie just firing all cylinders. They just seem to have it working. To see if that carries over. The Clippers are always a little scary, but I mean, there's all these questions about Kawhi again, which just blows me away. I just don't know how that guy can be so damn fragile at the same time of year every year. Maybe it's just a kind of like BS, and he's been just resting.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous 2-year contracts, they said, "What the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass?" So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
The living room is where you make life's most beautiful memories. But your sofa shouldn't be the one remembering them. The new life-resistant, high-performance furniture collection from Ashley is designed to withstand all the spills, slip-ups, and muddy paws that come with the best parts of life. Ashley high-performance sofas and recliners are soft, on-trend, and easy to clean. Shop the high-performance furniture in-store or online at ashley.com. Ashley, for the love of home.
For the ones who know safety isn't a catchphrase, it's a culture. And the ones who help make sure everyone makes it home safe. For the safety-minded who watch everyone's backs, Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry, as well as safety assessments and training to keep your facilities safe and your people safer. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
And while healthy, just to get ready for the playoffs, and which would probably be a smart move for the Clips because they weren't really moving in the standings. So there's that, and then there's OKC, which you want the Lakers to take advantage of the inexperience, right? So OKC has 0 experience. I think they're literally the youngest team in NBA history to lock up a number 1 seed. That might just be the West. I can't remember exactly, but that's still saying something, right? Like those guys could fold like a cheap suit, like immediately, and then just not look like the same team. Pretty incredible that they got the top seed this season with the way I thought they were still at least 2 years away from doing any kind of real damage in the West, but to get to the top, especially when you're going up against some really good teams in the West, that's impressive. But it's a new season now. Everybody starts at zero. So what you did before doesn't really matter. You have to carry you have to carry it over. If you don't carry it over, it doesn't mean shit, does it? So I mean that, and the same goes for all the teams: Denver, Dallas, Clips, Phoenix, Minnesota. Um, it'll be interesting though. I think the West is going to be super intriguing. I think the East is going to be a wash. I think Boston's just going to run through everybody unless there's injuries, unless Tatum goes down or something, or Brown. I think Milwaukee's done because Giannis, I doubt he comes back. And if he does, he's not going to be the same guy, just like he did last year. Wasn't the same guy, and then they got beat in the first round. Knicks are interesting, but I don't think they're good enough to beat Boston in 7 games, especially without Randall. So I honestly, I mean, the Lakers have a huge hill to climb to start the postseason. But if they can get over that hill, if they can get over that hill, that giant Jokic hill, they have a chance. They have a chance to win it all. Honestly, I mean, I don't know how they're going to fare against Boston if Boston ends up being the team in the finals. But I mean, damn, talk about entertaining, right? For everything they've gone through this year, in terms of Lakers, and everything, that all the scenarios that are the off-season scenarios that are floating around and kind of hanging over the heads of LeBron and AD and Pelinka and Jeannie Buss. It's kind of crazy, but they got to take it one step at a time. That's super cliche. I'm sounding like freaking Darvin Ham right now, but that's the case. At least AD saying he's going to play Tuesday. That's good news. We don't know what we're going to get from him, but I mean, as long as he's on the floor, that's a plus, I guess. And let's be honest, Pelicans are not unbeatable. For some reason, I think the Lakers just have their number, especially when the stakes are high. That team just does not play well when the stakes are high for whatever reason. I mean, they just look like crap the other day or yesterday. I was like, really, this is a playoff team? I mean, Zion didn't even look interested. Like half the time he's passing the ball off, and I'm like, why aren't you going to the basket? Like constantly. But nope, he just was handing the ball off, moving around, looks slow, lethargic. I mean, I think Ingram just got back from whatever injury he had, and he didn't look great by any means. And the rest of the team, I think CJ McCollum kind of kept them within striking distance, hitting threes, and Herb Jones as well. But that's it. I mean, they're a good team when it all comes together. But I think it rarely comes together like that, which is why they're in the play-in tournament. D'Angelo Russell said something interesting. He said he thinks that this year's team is better than last year's team, which is quite a statement, considering last year's team got to the West Finals and hit that stride where they just, they were kicking the crap out of people until they hit Denver. And then there's Vando, the big question mark from here on out. Personally, I have thought that he has been done for quite some time. I never expected him to get back. I was shocked enough that Gabe got back, which is great. Obviously gives you a little bit more depth in the backcourt. But in terms of Vando, who's so much more important in terms of on-ball defense and just giving you a guy in front of AD that you can count on, they're so much better. So much better defensively when he's on the floor. And he would be perfect right now. But I think Jovan Buha of The Athletic said the other day that he is only at the light jogging stage, which is terrible news. Light jogging means you're so like not close to coming back. Light jogging is basically you're testing out your body to see if it's going to react a certain way, right? Like you're not pushing it hard enough. And he says that he hasn't returned to on-court activity. That's when you know that they are on the verge of coming back. His on-court activity is kind of like we're ramping up. We're trying to game contact, the conditioning, see if the conditioning is there. But he did say he might return in the first round if they advance, or midway through the first. I don't believe it all. I think it's just more of like, just holding on a hope that that's going to happen. It's not going to happen. If it does, great. That's a game changer, especially if it's against Denver. But don't count on it. Don't count on it. What you got now is what you're running with. And this team is not bad. They're not terrible. When they play up to their potential, this team is good. And they can beat arguably anybody on any given night. I don't know about a 7-game series, though. I think a lot of people think that just because they can beat somebody on any given night means they can do that 4 times in 7 games, or 7 chances or whatever. But that's not the case, man. Like, these teams are really good. Denver's really good. Like, they're the only team that I've watched this year where I've been like, whoa, look at them move. I guess Boston too, but I say even more so. Denver just seems like on a string. And then when they get down, you don't see the body language change at all. Nothing changes. It's like they're so confident they're going to come back. And they do. They always end up coming back. I mean, I think I watched the game against Clippers, Denver Clippers, and Clippers kind of seemed to have their number that day. But the Nuggets climbed back, and it came all the way down to a game-winning 3 attempt by Jokic, which he missed. But that's the thing. You can't count these guys out. They're on another level. So that's why everybody's so terrified if the Lakers win tomorrow. And you got to be thinking that's got to be in their heads, right? Like, I think maybe if New Orleans comes out and they're clearly the better team tomorrow, that they start resting guys. Like third quarter, fourth quarter, maybe Ham. I don't know if Ham has that kind of coaching ability to where he's going to think that way. Hopefully he does. But if they just go, maybe they even say pregame, like, okay, if we're down by X amount going into the fourth, we're not going to push it. And they probably shouldn't, because I'm totally against tanking and taking your foot off the gas pedal, but just the scenario in itself is like, it'd be different if the Lakers were dominant, you know what I mean? And like you don't doubt them in any series or against any opponent, but that's not the case. I mean, it's all doubt right now. I mean, they play like they played yesterday, they're beating anybody, right? But then you go one game before that and they could lose to anybody. Like Memphis, I could not believe Memphis was in that game. I even tweeted before the game, I said, if the Lakers lose this one, what did I say exactly? I was like, I could not believe that Memphis had decided to shut it all down. But like, I think it was 13 players were ruled out for that game, which is crazy. I've never even heard of that before. But that was the case. And okay, come on, find the damn thing. I hate searching for this while I'm on the podcast. I got a freaking whole thing of notes here. And then I come up to this. Come on. Okay, if the Lakers lose this one, there's something seriously wrong with this team. Memphis isn't even showing up to this game. And that's pretty literal, right? Like, Memphis coach Taylor Jenkins notes that the Grizzlies have 13 players listed as out for tonight's game. And that's every notable player. Jaren Jackson, Desmond Bane, all the guys that could kill the Lakers, or like, give the Lakers a run. And it was no-name guys all night long, just torturing the Lakers from deep. And that Latavia guy, or whatever the hell his name is, that guy is he's a Laker killer. He's a pure definition of it. Never heard of him. And then he plays the Lakers and he scored 25 points, like easy. But you know what? Like I said before, this is the fun part of the year. This is where everything changes. This is where people, the teams step the foot on the gas pedal. They flip the switch, LeBron 0-30 crap or whatever. So let's see what happens, because anything can happen, and injuries happen. And I'm not saying the Lakers, it's going to be injuries to the Lakers, but it could be whoever they're facing. It's all up for grabs right now. Like I said, they start from zero. That's the mentality you're going to have, and hopefully they do, and hopefully they go forward with that. And AD can stay upright and healthy enough to contribute enough. The team can advance, but we'll see. It's going to get interesting. It's going to be fun. Just try to stay positive. Until next time, see you later.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Granger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgranger.com or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
You know when you're listening to a true crime story that has an unbelievable plot twist that makes you stop in your tracks? That's what our podcast, People Are the Worst, brings you with each episode. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Rebecca. We're identical twins who love true crime cases that make you say, didn't see that coming, and we hate the people responsible for them. Listen to People Are the Worst now on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.